So we're going to do the Q&A now, and Victor's coming up on stage, and we're just going to play around with some microphones because we're also going to have two of our directors on the stage with Victor and me, and they just need to get their mics on. So while that's happening, if you do want to ask a question, please make yourself known to us. Elliot is running around with a microphone. It will be helpful if you can use the microphone so that everybody can hear whichever part of the room they're in. We are also recording all these events, so it's much easier if we can hear people's voices coming through nice and clearly. I can just see Leslie's got to take her earrings out. So I'll introduce the two people who are having their mics put on because you already know Victor. Leslie is our Director of Customer Contact, so it's her team that you might ring up if you want to speak to us. There's some of them in the room. Leslie also looks after the complaints team as well, which we've already talked about a few times. So Leslie's a good person to join us. And then Andrew Snee, who's also getting his microphone put on now as well. Andrew's our Director of Tenancy Compliance and a lot else too. So Andrew looks after any issues relating to the tenancy, any issues relating to the neighbourhood, antisocial behaviour, etc. He also looks after some of our commercial teams and properties, and he looks after our resident engagement team. So a good reason to have Andrew joining us as well. Nice timing. So we're ready for the Q&As. When we get to the end, and we will have to stop at a certain point because we're going to run this whole session again later this afternoon, but Victor and I are also going to hand out our Curo in Bloom Awards and our Curo Community Heroes Awards. So we'll do that at the end. We have got a few of the winners in the room, so it'd be nice if everybody stayed to give them some applause when we get to that point too. So, on with the questions. Who would like to start? Who wants to start? Wendy? Do Wendy over there, yeah? Thank you.
Yeah. I am in a shelter accommodation in Cambridgeshire. I already asked you this, Victor, but I'm going to ask it again. You are building in Frome. As I'm getting worse with my illness, and I've got to have a wheelchair now, I'm looking at getting a disabled place. How does that affect me? Do I still have to bid to get disabled place in Frome, or do I go through you?
Do you want me to? I'll start. First thing to say is probably the truth is that we don't build enough adapted homes. I think typically a new development will have about 10% of properties that are adapted. So I think one of the things we need to reflect on when we think about our new vision around everyone feels proud of the quality of our homes is the extent to which our new supply should be for or adaptable for future. So I think that's the first thing, just to recognise that because there's a high demand for adapted homes and not very much supply, it can be a very long wait for people that need adapted homes. Although we can adapt some homes that have been built without those adaptations. So that's the first thing. The second thing is most local authorities don't necessarily allow people from one local authority to go on their waiting list. So if you live in Baines, it's not necessarily the case you'll be able to apply for housing in another local authority. And for new build housing, so anything that we build, the first letting is always 100% offered to the local authority. So it's part of the government funding requirement that 100% of the first lets will go to local authority. Subsequent relets is 25% for smaller, for larger houses and 50% for smaller houses. Sorry? Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to paint the scene, which is it's very difficult if you're an existing resident to simply move cross boundaries. And then when you add the complexity of needing an adapted home, it becomes even more difficult because it will rely really on our ability to do what's called an internal transfer. So that would be on a second let or not on a first let. Andrew may want to touch on this, but I've tried to sort of set the scene how complicated this is, recognising that I think you're not alone in needing a home that's adapted in another local authority area.
Yeah, I think I'd just pick up by saying your case individually what we can do is work with you to understand exactly, what your personal circumstances are. We'll be able to have a colleague contact you and work through that process with you. As Vic said, it's not easy, but once we work through those details, I think that picture will become clearer, and then we'll be able to hopefully look and see what is out there. If it's not in that area, that will, work with your needs moving forward. All right. Thanks.
Just while we're looking for the next question, I'll just add a couple of things to that. You've got a couple there, Elliot. But the way the housing registers work, both in Bath and North East Somerset and elsewhere, that they're not particularly sophisticated in terms of matching people's need with the homes, and we keep finding this with our new developments, but also with our existing residents who say, well, why can't I find a home like this? And we're trying to work with Baines at the moment and to create a separate housing register for people who've got mobility needs or disabilities. That's proving quite tough, but we are trying to push onto that. And we do have a few minor successes every now and then that we manage to move someone into the right home for them, but it's often difficult, and going across local authority areas just makes it more difficult. But we're building in other places as well, and every time we build somewhere, we will have a minimum of 10% of those homes will be adaptable or accessible, but it's just trying to match those with the people who need the most from the local areas. Not always easy. Elliot, do you want to introduce someone else?
Hi. Why the delay, and what's the timescale with regards to adoption of the roads around Mulberry Park for safety of the children around the school, in particular, road safety?
I don't know the specifics, but normally, I'll get the exact answer for you, but normally, during the construction period, the local authority have to adopt the roads when they meet a certain standard, or when we have effectively finished the development. It may well be that some roads haven't yet been adopted. So I know I went round to what we call phase 4, which is behind the community facility, and the surface hasn't been finished. I'm assuming that's principally because there's still construction activity taking place, and it would completely ruin the surface. So it would normally be when we complete a zone and hand it to the local authority. But because there are 4 different phases, I will give you the actual dates of the next phases separately, if that's okay.
The school is on phase 1, and phase 1's been completed for over 6 years.
Yeah, so that's why I'm surprised that you're saying it should have been adopted by the local authority. So
it was meant to be last October, and it hasn't gone through.
Do we know, Paul?
I can imagine why you're frustrated about this, because I've been involved with Mulberry Park for a long time as well, and this was supposed to be done way before last October for stage 1, so I share your frustration on it. We'll follow this up. The Residents Association here is now sort of reconstituting, isn't it, after a little period of pause, and we've been talking to Tom and Cliff and others about exactly what it is that you want us to prioritise. The issue about adoption is something we have to deal with the Highways Agency and the local authority about, and we can absolutely push that again to find out what's stopping it.
Yeah, I think it shouldn't be up to a residents' association to put something that is very clearly a Highways Council and Curo issue. It's meant to be that the roads are adopted, and therefore they can put the safety measures in place, and that should have happened 6 years ago.
Yeah, you're quite right. I don't know the answer to that at the moment, because we have been trying, but the blockage is almost certainly because of something that's happening at the local authority level. So we need to understand why they haven't been able to adopt it. But we will do that, and we will pass that information on as soon as we can.
It's not slopey shoulders. I think what I'm hearing is we should have dealt with this a while ago, and I'm not going to push back, because that's not an unreasonable challenge. So I think I accept this is something we should have picked up, and now, having heard it directly from you, it's something I will make sure we give you an answer to, not only the reasons why the delay, but when it's going to happen.
Hello, yeah, I haven't been to one of these events before, so this happened a while back. I was wondering if you're still using Section 21 No 40 eviction orders.
I'm not aware of us ever using Section 21, but Andrew will tell me the realities, because he runs that part of the Tenancies Directorate.
So the answer is no, we're not now, because it's kind of old-fashioned in a way, and actually we want to talk to our customers around what's going on in their tenancies and understanding the reasons why their tenancy might be failing, and working with them to actually sustain their tenancies. So the emphasis for us is much more on sustainment. We do obviously run a very small portfolio of market rent tenancies, okay, which are different and are potentially still using Section 21s at this moment in time, just because of the makeup of those properties. In reality, if someone's tenancy is failing because they have issues around affordability, it would be wrong for us to serve a Section 21 notice to bring that to an end without fully understanding what's actually going on in that household and bringing support in to actually sustain that. And likewise with antisocial behaviour, when we did use Section 21's notices in the past, they were very few and far between and in really, quite significant circumstances. And the service has moved on. It's not about always about enforcement, as I've said. It's about support and understanding, all right? And actually, the makeup of our customers in the last few years is very much changed. There's lots more vulnerabilities out there. There's lots more that we need to understand around our customers' behaviours and work with them to bring about a sustained period of change. Because what we were finding is when we do bring a tenancy to an end, the customer will engage with the local authority, and those customers will find a route back into housing of some kind. So if we've not worked with them to bring those problems to a place where they're able to sustain the tenancy, that circle will just keep going over and over and over and over again. And it costs us lots of money, it costs the local authority lots of money. So yeah, in line with recent legislation and what have you, no fault evictions and the use of those notices in our general needs stock won't be being used.
Yeah, I mean, I know because the government is, well, for a number of years now, been planning to bring them to an end. I mean, the unfortunate thing, it was a patient of mine that was, and there was no problem with the tenancy. It was, I think it was the market paying below the market rate was an assured tenancy. And I was wondering other people in the Paragon, because some people go back to their tenancies go back to the 1940s, and so that, and it seemed really unfair and unfortunate for this individual. It caused a relapse in their mental health. They were readmitted back to hospital, and luckily another provider was able to step in to provide housing later. The thing that was really upsetting was the fact that you then applied your legal costs to their rent, which then there was no problem with that. That then pushed them into being in arrears. And I did think, because we went to court, to challenge. There's all sorts of challenges around it, and in the end, you got the flat back because he went back into hospital. It was. I'm just wondering. It was a really unfortunate, and unfair sort of thing to do at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to catch up with you after this session just to look at that a little bit more close. I think you touch on something there with the way in which the court costs were applied to the account. Kind of tells me the kind of case that would be. So if you wanted slightly, I can put you in touch with some colleagues who are here today who might be able to look at that and the reasons why and how that played out for you. Happy to do that after this session. No problem.
Thank you.
There's a gentleman over here.
Hello, thank you very much, thank you. Yes, I've got a couple of concerns here. One of them goes back to 2019. When I I should introduce myself. I live in the Keynsham Estate, Minsmere Road and Devon Grove area. And in 2019, I attended a group like this, and I was very concerned with reference to the development which is going to be adjacent to Colin Green by Taylor Wimpey. And I've asked the question, what does Curo know about the access which is going to go in front of our car park? Taylor Wimpey and Baines had marked it to be an access, traffic access to go from Minsmere Road to that development. And at that time, I was told you didn't know anything about it. For 2 years, I have heard nothing. You promised me, Mr. Dicuna, yeah? That is, you will find out about it and let me know. 2 years later, didn't hear nothing. Admittingly, there was a corona, the COVID, you name it, so I took that into consideration. But after that, I started inquiring about it, and eventually I have an email. I couldn't trace that email today to see who sent it to say that is in the deed, there was something to do, that is earmarked. I've been looking at the deed all morning, and I can't find it in my deed where it says that is that part of the ground which we have been paying maintenance for, the ground maintenance for the last 45 years, yeah, is going to be given as an access. And until this day, and it's been approved by Baines that it is going to be an access, you have not had the decency to come to the people who live around that area to say, guys, there's going to be a traffic access through that road. Why? You have the responsibility to tell to the people there. I'm a homeowner in there. I paid for that. I paid for maintaining it for the last since 1978. So why we have not been informed about that? Until this day, we don't know what is actually going on. So it's your responsibility to tell us, to tell all the estate in there. Plus the fact that is, why should it be an access in there?
Okay, well, it sounds like we owe you an apology. I owe you an apology. If I promise,
That's not a matter
if I
of
promise to give you
apology.
some information,
Mr.
I haven't
Dicona,
apologised.
It's not a matter of apologies.
Yeah.
I'm not here to listen to apologies.
Yeah.
I'm here to listen to actions.
Yeah.
I appreciate you trying to apologize. I am not saying that is, I want to hear an apology. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for an apology. Yeah. I'm asking for clarification of what's going on in there. Why should it be an access? That is people walking through there, and they do their dog walk, cat dog walk, whatever you name it. Elderly people walk through that area. So why is not being told to us about it? That's one. Secondly, the maintenance of the ground in there, we pay for the maintenance, and there's nothing done. If I show you photographs of the grass in our area, in Devon Grove and Minsmere Road, it's that high. It's a jungle. Why? Since April, nothing been done in that area.
Okay,
You're having a problem with the contractors, that's your problem, it's not our problem.
Sure. I think, so two things. One is about communication on the new development that Taylor Wimpey are handling. We haven't been communicating.
They should not have that access.
Sure. And the other one is about the quality of grounds maintenance in the areas. Yeah.
Yes.
So rather than everyone dealing with your specific inquiries, what I can commit to is after this session, I'll speak to you about both those aspects.
I need to go, as I said to Paul earlier on.
Okay.
I need to be in Bristol by 1 o'clock.
Okay, well, your points have been raised. We will pick them up separately. Thank you.
Jade, can you just walk out with this chap and take his details, please?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm a new tenant because my mum died on New Year's Day, and I moved into this place and I got told I was going to get a new kitchen, new bathroom, and I didn't get it. All what was done was the worktops was took out, and that was it.
So could we just clarify that? You're saying that when you moved into your mum's place...
When I moved into the place where I am now,
Yeah.
I got told I was going to get a new kitchen and new bathroom, and I didn't.
Okay, who told you that?
His name was Josh.
Okay, so one of our lettings team.
Yeah.
So when you moved into that property, you were told that you'd get a new kitchen and bathroom, did you say?
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure about the exact occurrence, but what we do with all of our homes is that we try and upgrade, recycle kitchens and bathrooms on a 25 or 30-year cycle, respectively, and we do that across all of our general needs accommodation. Now, obviously, if you have a problem with either of those things, kitchen or bathroom, it's damaged, it doesn't work for you, before that period of time, we can look at it and we can replace them earlier. Otherwise, we'll tell you that yours is due to be replaced in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years' time, etc. So I'm hoping that the reason that Josh said that to you is because there was damage to either of the areas. And
Well, the person who lived in there, she did damage some of the stuff what's in there.
yeah, so it may be that Josh's quick view was that actually it probably looks like we're going to have to replace that. But when the team have then been in to look, it may be that they felt that we don't need to replace the entire kitchen. We can just replace an element of it that's not working that well. That might be what's happened in your case. What we can do is we can go back and have a look at our records and find out exactly why that was. And if we've overpromised something, then I'm really sorry about that. But we can definitely find out whether we've done the right thing in there and get back to you on that one if that's
Paul,
okay.
is it right that we publish the cycles for? So
Yep.
you should be able to go on our website and have a look when your area is due for a new kitchen and bathroom.
Yeah, when your property is due, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so we can. That's a general thing. So if anyone wants to know when at least it's scheduled to be replaced according to our current program, go online on our website. It should tell you when the official date is due. If there is a problem, obviously we'll then need to look at it separately. But it's worth bearing in mind that that's a general piece of information that all residents should be able to access.
And equally, if you give your info to Jade, who's scribbling around there, Jade or Sim, the team behind there, they'll just get your details and make sure we can follow that up for you. But I think it's worth reflecting on this program that we have of upgrading, replacing items. It's not just kitchens and bathrooms. We do it with roofs, we do it with doors, windows, all those kind of things. When we talked to a lot of our residents about 18 months or so ago now, when the cost of living started to hit, and we said, can you help us prioritise where we spend our money? Because we've got less money now, effectively, because of the cost of living as well, as many of you. And the thing that came back the most from residents that we could deprioritise was the kitchens and bathrooms replacement programme. People said, if you have to cut some money, cut it from there, because these other things are much more important. So we did do that as well. But that programme still exists, and it still replaces everything by the legal requirements that we have to abide by for 25 and 30 years. Sorry, I'm bibbling on now, but has anybody else got questions at the back there? Elliot.
Good afternoon. I'm a resident here, a homeowner in Mulberry Park. I just wondered whether you feel First Port are an effective estate management team, because I certainly don't.
First support.
So First Port are the managing agents who carry out a lot of the service chargeable services on the estate, so some of the grounds maintenance activity, communal cleaning, etc. They are a merged entity because they used to be called a different organisation, Mainstay, and they have been here since the start of the estate. They were originally contracted by us to provide those services. We have taken on some of those services ourselves in some of the blocks here, and we are thinking about whether we should do more of that, because we're aware that the performance of First Port isn't always great everywhere. We have been walking around the estate with them a lot recently to agree on what's happening and what's not happening, and there were some gaps that we saw that nobody was doing. And we've got a meeting in October where we're going to have a look again about what the options are longer term, because one of the things that we could do is bring the rest of those services in-house to Curo and deliver them ourselves. That would require residents to vote on that and a proper consultation, but that's one of the options, and we want to talk to the Residents Association about that in a meeting I think that's coming up in the next 4 weeks or so. So we're definitely aware, and we're considering what we can do to help.
Okay, thank you.